take a look at this thing. What's it called? Well, in this lesson, I want to teach you about ancient crimes and punishment. Okay, the word ancient means old. Okay, like 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago, that would be something ancient. Okay, we often use this term here, olden days. Okay, so we could say in the olden days, adultery was a crime. Okay, adultery was a crime. What's adultery? Adultery means having sex with someone other than your spouse. Okay, so if a man has sex with someone other than his wife, he would be committing adultery. Committing adultery. Now, in Canada, this isn't a crime. Okay, but I think it used to be a crime a long time ago, and in a lot of countries around the world, this was a crime. And I think in some countries, this is still a crime today. But in Western countries, it's not a crime. Okay, now there's a very similar crime called fornication. Okay, that means sex between two people who are not married to each other. So it's almost exactly the same as adultery, but it could also include two people who have never been married. Okay, we call that premarital sex. Okay, so if someone in high school, let's say a boy in high school and a girl in high school have sex with each other, that's called premarital sex, right? They haven't been married yet, okay? Now, there's another crime called sodomy. That means anal sex or oral sex. Now, obviously, sodomy is not a crime anymore in Canada and I think in most other countries, but in some countries, this is still a crime today. Okay, but like I said, in most countries, would be considered an ancient crime. Okay, that's why the title of this lesson is Ancient Crimes and Punishment. Okay, this was something in the past. It's not, at least in Canada, it's not punished anymore. Okay, now another one is bestiality. Now that means sex with animals. Okay, a lot of people pronounce this word bestiality because another word for animal is beast, but that would be spelled with an A, B-E-A-S-T, beast. But I looked up this word a few minutes ago and it's pronounced bestiality. Okay, but a lot of people say bestiality. Okay, another ancient crime is apostasy. Apostasy, that means leaving your religion. Okay, that used to be a very serious thing. If you were in a certain religion and you said, no, I'm rejecting that, I'm going to believe something else. Okay, that was a very serious crime in a lot of countries in the olden days. Even today, in some countries, it's a very serious thing to leave your religion. Okay, now a very similar crime is heresy. Heresy. But the difference between heresy and apostasy is with heresy, you're not leaving your religion. You're staying in your religion, but you're believing false things in your religion. Okay, let's say these two guys are in the same religion, but they believe different things. That guy might say, you heretic. Okay, he's saying the guy believes something false. He's a false believer. Now, this is very common in Christianity. Okay, there's three main branches of Christianity: Protestants, Catholics, and Orthodox. Okay, they don't like each other. They don't like each other, and they don't like each other, and very often they accuse each other of being heretics. But it's not just in Christianity. This is also very common in Islam, okay? With Shia Muslims, Sunni Muslims, Ismaili Muslims, they don't really like each other, and very often they accuse each other of being heretics. Another very serious crime in a country like Pakistan is blasphemy. Blasphemy. Now that means disrespecting a religion. Okay, let's say you say something bad against God. That would be considered blasphemy. And in some countries, that's punishable by death. Okay, here in Canada, it's okay. Anybody can blaspheme, and it's fine. In Canada, we call it freedom of speech. Okay, you can say anything bad about another person or about a religion, and that's not considered a crime. Okay, but in a lot of countries, like Pakistan, it's a very serious crime, and you could be executed for it. Okay, now there's another word we use called sacrilege. Sacrilege and blasphemy, they basically mean the same thing. Okay, let's take a look at some forms of punishment for these crimes. Okay, now a very common form of punishment in the olden days was stoning. Stoning means throwing rocks at a person until they die. Okay, stoning. Another very common form of punishment was flogging. Flogging. Now that means beating someone with a whip or a stick. This is called a whip. You whip someone. Okay, now usually when you flog someone, you're not trying to kill them. You're just trying to punish them very severely and then let them go. Okay, another very common form of punishment in Europe a few hundred years ago was burning at the stake. Burning at the stake. Okay, this thing here, this pole is called a stake. So they would tie a person to the stake and then burn them until they die. Okay, now this thing is called a guillotine. Guillotine. Now this was also a very common form of execution in Europe a few hundred years ago. And crucifixion. Crucifixion was a common form of execution in the Roman Empire. Okay, this is called a cross, and if someone is crucified, okay, that crucifixion is the form of execution, and the verb is crucified. Okay, so I could say Jesus was crucified on a cross. Okay, now another very common form of execution throughout history is beheading. Beheading, that means cutting someone's head off. Okay, so time for homework. I want to know, do you think bestiality should be punished? If so, how? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll see you over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Take care.